only our essential plant nutrients are important for our plant growth and production, there's also non-essential plant nutrients which also assist in our plant's growth and production and even increase yields. So in this video, we'll be looking at non-essential plant nutrients. They are silicon, cobalt, sodium, selenium, and aluminium. So it's important to note that all of these have like a whole variety of different functions within our plant. So it's very hard to narrow down the one function that they have. And so even though I'll talk quite generally about these nutrients and the role they probably have a whole bunch of different functions that we don't even know about. So that's an important place to start. So with silicon is really important for reducing abiotic stress. So abiotic means non-living. So factors that are not living that also stress out our plant. So that can be heat, it can be drought, it can be water logging. It can be a whole range of different things that isn't induced by, say, a pathogen or a pest. And so when we have sufficient amount of silicon in our plants, we get a reduction in stress from our plants, which typically then makes our plants a lot happier and able to increase production that way. Another really important thing from silicon is that it increases the strength of our cell walls and it strengthens them. This can help reduce, say, pathogens from breaking through the cell wall, which is really important. So fungus infections on our plants. So when we apply silicon, there's a lot of research that shows that when you apply silicon, it can actually reduce the amount of disease on our plants. Next, we have cobalt. So cobalt has a number of functions. Firstly, in legumes, it increases the amount of nitrogen fixation. So there's a compound in legumes similar to our own hemoglobins, which carry oxygen away from, or it carries oxygen really, these compounds. In legumes, it carries oxygen away from the nodes. Now this is really important because the nodes require a low oxygen environment for it to fix nitrogen. And so this compound, which has cobalt in it, moves the oxygen around. So studies have shown that there's an increase in nitrogen fixation when you apply cobalt. You don't need to apply a lot, just a small amount to the seed, and that's really all that matters. Vitamin B12 production requires cobalt. It's a cofactor in the production of vitamin B12. That increases nitrogen fixation in legumes. And then generally cobalt assists in growth of our plants. I say that quite generally because quite generally it increases germination rates, I think root growth, just plant growth as it is. Next we have sodium. Now sodium you probably don't think too much as a beneficial plant nutrient because typically we get problems in sodic soils, so soils that have too much sodium, and sodium can antagonize more important nutrients like potassium, calcium, magnesium, but it still has an important role in our plants nevertheless. So osmotic pressure regulation is one of the functions of sodium, and that just makes sure the plant's water statuses are in check. And so similar to chloride and even potassium, it just helps make sure all the osmotic pressures are in check. Selenium, which is really important for reducing abiotic stress, similar to silicon. Selenium is used in one of the most powerful antioxidant agents in our plants and even our own bodies, which reduce free radicals, and typically all abiotic stress induces free radicals in the plant. And so when we have really powerful antioxidant antioxidizing agents, we reduce the abiotic stress within our plants. So the application of, I think some of the research was saying 50 grams per hectare of pure selenium can increase, or can really increase our production. There's also a number of plant defense functions that come from selenium as well. Finally, our last beneficial nutrient is aluminium. Now, typically we have aluminium toxicity, which is not good at all. So typically we'll have an excess aluminium, but nevertheless it is important in low concentrations within our plants. So aluminium has a role in uptake of nutrients. There's a study suggesting that the uptake of NP, NK is regulated by aluminium. And so when we have good aluminium, it affects our roots, which assists in the uptake of NPK and probably all our other nutrients as well. So two of these you probably never have to apply, so sodium and aluminium. However, silicon actually makes up the most of our soil. But it's hard for our plants to access because it's typically only available through biological activity. And so having really biologically robust help us increase our silicon concentration. Otherwise, a foliar spray can also work. Cobalt as a foliar spray, and selenium as well as a foliar spray. So I hope that helps understand a bit more about our more beneficial nutrients. Although not essential, very important, and can increase our production. Awesome, thanks very much for watching. My name's Teal Simmons. Cheers.